Hare Krishna, my dear devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Today we are hearing from uh, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 31, Text 15. And it says, during the rainy season, water is generated from the sun, and in due course of time, during the summer season, the very same water is again absorbed by the sun. Similarly, all living entities, moving and inert, are generated from the earth. And again, after some time, they all return to the earth as dust. Similarly, everything emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in due course of time, everything enters into him again. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Because of their poor fund of knowledge, impersonalist philosophers cannot understand how everything comes out from the Supreme Person and then merges into him again. As Brahma Samhita 5.40 confirms, Yasya Prabha Prabhuvato Jagananda Koti Svasesha Vasudadi Vibhuti Grinam Tad Brahma Niskalam Anantam Asesha Bhutam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Transcendental rays emanate. One second. Transcendental rays emanate from the body of Krishna. And within those rays, which are the Brahman effulgence, everything is existing. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.4. Matstani Sarvabhutani. Although Krishna is not personally present everywhere, his energy is the cause of all creation. The entire cosmic manifestation is nothing but a display of Krishna's energy. The two examples given in this verse are very vivid. During the rainy season, the rain, by rejuvenating the production of vegetables on earth, enables man and animals to obtain living energy. When there is no rain, food is scarce, and man and animals simply die. All vegetables, as well as moving living entities, are originally products of the earth. They come from the earth, and again they merge into the earth. Similarly, the total material energy is generated from the body of Krishna, and at such a time, the entire cosmic manifestation is visible. When Krishna winds up his energy, everything vanishes. This is explained in a different way in Brahma Samhita 5.48. Yasyaika nisvasitakalam atavalambya jivanti loma vilaja jagananda amda. Jagananda Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagat Anda Nata Vishnu Mahansa Iyasya Kalavishesho Govinda Madhipurasham Tamaham Brajami. The entire material creation comes from the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and at the time of annihilation again enters into him. This process of creation and dissolution is made possible by the breathing of the Mahavishnu, who is only a plenary portion of Krishna. Text number 16. Just as the sunshine is non-different from the sun, the cosmic manifestation is also non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality is therefore all pervasive within this material creation. When the senses are active, they appear to be part and parcel of the body. But when the body is asleep, their activities are unmanifest. Similarly, the whole cosmic creation appears different and yet non-different from the Supreme Person. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This confirms the philosophy of Achintya Veda Abheda Tattva, simultaneously one and different, the propounded by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is simultaneously different and non-different from this cosmic manifestation. In a previous verse, it has been explained that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like the root of a tree, is the original cause of everything. It was also explained how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all pervasive. He is present within everything in the material manifestation. Since the energy of the Supreme Lord is non-different from him, this material cosmic manifestation is also non-different from him, although it appears different. The sunshine is not different from the sun itself, but it is simultaneously also different. One may be in the sunshine, but he is not on the sun itself. Those who live in the material world are living on the bodily rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they cannot see him personally in the material condition. In this verse, the word Padam indicates the place where the Supreme Personality of Godhead resides. As confirmed in Ishopanishad, Ishyavasham idam sarvam, the proprietor of a house may live in one room of the house, but the entire house belongs to him. A king may live in one room in Buckingham Palace, but the entire palace is considered his property. It is not necessary for the king to live in every room of that palace for it to be his. He may be physically absent from the rooms, but still the entire palace is understood to be his royal domicile. The sunshine is light, and the sun globe itself is light, and the sun god is also light. However, the sunshine is not identical with the sun god, Vivaswan. This is the meaning of simultaneously one and different. Achintya Veda Aveda Tattva. All planets rest on the sunshine, And because of the heat of the sun, they all revolve in their orbits. On each and every planet, the trees and plants grow and change colors due to the sunshine. Being the rays of the sunshine is non different from the sun. Similarly, all the planets resting on the sun are non different from the sun. The entire material world is completely dependent on the sun, being produced by the sun, and the cause, the sun, is inherent in the effects. Similarly, Krishna is the cause of all causes, and the effects are permeated by the original cause. The entire cosmic manifestation should be understood as the expanded energy of the Supreme Lord. When one sleeps, the senses are inactive, but this does not mean that the senses are absent. When one is awakened, the senses become active again. Similarly, this cosmic creation is sometimes manifest and sometimes unmanifest. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate. When the cosmic manifestation is dissolved, it is in a kind of sleeping condition, an inactive state. Whether the cosmic manifestation is active or inactive, the energy of the Supreme Lord is always existing. Thus, the words appearance and disappearance apply only to the cosmic manifestation. Okay, text 17. My dear kings, sometimes in the sky there are clouds, sometimes there is darkness, and sometimes there is illumination. The appearance of all these take place consecutively. Similarly, in the Supreme Absolute, the modes of passion, darkness, and goodness appear as consecutive energies. Sometimes they appear and sometimes they disappear. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Darkness, illumination, and clouds sometimes appear and sometimes disappear. But even when they have disappeared, the potency is still there, always existing. In the sky, sometimes we see clouds, sometimes rainfall, and sometimes snow. Sometimes we see night, sometimes day, sometimes illumination, and sometimes darkness. All these exist due to the sun, but the sun is unaffected by all these changes. Similarly, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original cause of life, original cause of the total cosmic manifestation, he is unaffected by the material existence. 1 second. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.4. Bhumir apo nalo vayu kammano budir evacha ahankara ityame vina pakritir astada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 comprise my separated material energies. Although the material or physical elements are energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are separate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is therefore not affected by material conditions. The Vedanta Sutra confirms Janmadhyasya Yata, the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of this cosmic manifestation are due to the existence of the Supreme Lord. Nonetheless, the Lord is unaffected by all these changes in the material elements. This is indicated by the word pravaha, emanation. The sun always shines brilliantly and is not affected by clouds or darkness. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always present in his spiritual energy and is not affected by the material emanations. Brahma Samhita 5.1 confirms Ishvaraha Parama Krishna Sachid Ananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. Although he is the supreme cause, the cause of all causes, he is still Parama, transcendental. And his form is Satchit Ananda, eternal spiritual bliss. Krishna is the shelter of everything, and thus is the verdict of all, and this is the verdict of all scripture. Krishna is the remote cause, and material nature is the immediate cause of the cosmic manifestation. 1 second. Yeah. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that understanding Prakriti, or nature, to be the cause of everything is like understanding the nipples on the neck of a goat to be the cause of milk. Material nature is the immediate cause of the cosmic manifestation. Sometimes, but the original cause is Narayana, Krishna. Sometimes people think that the cause of an earthen pot is the earth. We see on a potter's wheel a sufficient amount of earth to produce many pots. And although unintelligent men will say that the earth on the wheel is the cause of the pot, who supplies the earth and moves the wheel. Material nature may be a helping factor in the creation of this cosmic manifestation, but it is not the ultimate cause. In Bhagavad Gita 9:10, the Lord therefore says, Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. The material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kuti, and producing all moving and unmoving beings. The Supreme Lord casts his glance over the material energy, and his glance agitates the three modes of nature. Creation then takes place. The conclusion is that nature is not the cause of the material manifestation. The Supreme Lord is the cause of all causes. That's very nice. So, the scientists, they believe that nature is the cause of everything. But actually, it's Krishna, the cause of everything. Nature is just a uh, what you can say, uh, a an aspect of the Supreme Lord's uh, powers, but not the real cause of what's going on. So that's a little confusing because we do not see the hand of Krishna, but actually the material nature is a an aspect of Krishna, not the cause of what is happening. That's why it says the conclusion is that nature is not the cause of the material manifestation. The Supreme Lord is the cause of all causes. Text 18. Because the Supreme Lord is the cause of all causes, he is the super soul of all individual living entities. Well, that means he's present in the heart of all living entities. And he exists as both the remote and immediate cause. Since he is aloof from the material emanations, he is free from their interactions and is Lord of the material nature. You should therefore engage in his devotional service, thinking yourself qualitatively one with him. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. According to Vedic calculations, there are three causes of creation: time, the ingredient, and the creator. Combined, these are called Trita Yatmika, the three causes. Okay, so that is time, the ingredient, and the creator. Everything in this material world is created by these three causes. All of these causes are found in the personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Brahma Samhita, Sarva Karana Karanam. Narada Muni, therefore, advises the Prasetas to worship the direct cause. Okay, the direct cause is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated before, when the root of a tree is watered, all the parts are energized. According to the advice of Narada Muni, one should directly engage in devotional service. This will include all pious activity. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Krishna Bhakti Kaila Sarva Karma Kritahaya. When one worships the Supreme Lord, Krishna, in devotional service, one automatically performs all other pious activities. Very important statement. In this verse, the words Swa Tejasa, Devasta Guna Pravaham is very significant. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is never affected by the material qualities, although they all emanate from his spiritual energy. Those who are really conversant with this knowledge can utilize everything for the service of the Lord, because nothing in this material world is unconnected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. So everything is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nothing is independent from the Lord. Text number 19. By showing mercy to all living entities, being satisfied somehow or other and controlling the senses from sense enjoyment, one can very quickly satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardhan. These are some of the ways in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be satisfied by the devotee. And now that's very good to know. The first item mentioned is Dayaya Sarva Bhutesu, showing mercy to all conditioned souls. The best way to show mercy is to spread Krishna consciousness. The entire world is suffering for want of this knowledge. People should know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original cause of everything. Knowing this, everyone should directly engage in his devotional service. And that makes sense. If the Lord is the original cause of everything, then knowing this, everyone should directly engage in his devotional service. Those who are actually learned advance in spiritual understanding should preach Krishna consciousness all over the world so that people may take to it and make their lives successful. That makes sense. Those who are actually learned, advanced in spiritual understanding, should preach Krishna consciousness all over the world so that people may take to it and make their lives successful. The words Sarvabhutesu, the word Sarvabhutesu is significant because it applies not only to human beings, but to all living entities appearing in the 8,400,000 species of life. The devotee can do good not only to humanity, but to all living entities as well. Everyone can benefit spiritually by the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. When the transcendental vibration of Hare Krishna is sounded, even the trees, animals, insects benefit. Thus, when one chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra loudly, he actually shows mercy to all living entities. To spread the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the world, the devotees should be satisfied in all conditions. Well, this again validates that one should not chant silently. One should chant very, very loudly so that any living entities near the devotee are benefited by the transcendental sound vibration of the holy names of Krishna. It does not matter to the pure devotee if he has to go to hell to preach. The Supreme Lord lives in the heart of a hog, although the Lord is in Vaikuntha. Even while preaching in hell, a pure devotee remains a pure devotee by his constant association with the Supreme Personality of God. To attain this state, one has to control his senses. The senses are automatically controlled when one's mind is engaged in the service of the Lord. Okay, that's a profound statement. The senses are automatically controlled when one's mind is engaged in the service of the Lord. That should be our real vocation in life. Always engaged in the service of the Lord. That way, the senses are automatically controlled. Text 20. being completely cleansed of all material desires. The devotees are freed from all mental contamination. Well, you have to be completely cleansed of all material desires. Then the devotees are freed from all mental contamination. Thus, they can always think of the Lord constantly and address him very feelingly. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing himself to be controlled by his devotees, does not leave them for a second, just as the sky overhead never becomes invisible. So Krishna is always in control. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It is clear from the previous verse that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardana, is very quickly satisfied by the activities of his devotees. The pure devotee is always absorbed in the thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated, Shinvatam Swakata Krishna. By always thinking of Krishna, the pure devotee's heart is freed from all kinds of desires. In the material world, the heart of the living entity is filled with material desires. When the living entity is cleansed, he does not think of anything material. That means, that doesn't mean that his mind is blank. That means that he doesn't think of anything material. All his thoughts are spiritual. As the mind is completely cleansed, one attains perfectional stage of mystic yoga. For then, the yogi always sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart. That is mystic yoga. Yana vastitata gatena manasa pasyanti yam yogina. As soon as the Lord is situated within the heart of the devotee cannot be contaminated by the material modes of nature. As long as one is under the control of the material modes, he desires so many things and makes so many plans for material sense enjoyment. But as soon as the Lord is perceived in the heart, all material desires vanish. That's very important. When the mind is completely free from material desire, the devotee can think of the Lord constantly. In this way, he becomes completely dependent upon the lotus feet of the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prays, Ai Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram, Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddho, Kripaya Tavapada Pankaja Stita Dulisadrisam Vichintaya. My dear Lord, I am your eternal servant, but somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of this material world. Kindly pick me up and fix me as a speck of dust at your lotus feet. And this is from the Sisastakam, number 5. Similarly, Srila Narottama Das Thakur prays, Haha Prabhu Nanda Sutta Rishabhanu Sutta Yuta Karuna Karaha Evara Narottama Dasakaya Na Teliha Rangapaya Toma Vineke Ache Amar. beautiful poetry by the Narottam Das Thakur, and his prayer is profound. My dear Lord, you are now present with the daughter of the king Rishabhanu, Shrimati Radharani. Now, both of you, please be merciful upon me. Don't kick me away, because I have no shelter other than you. In this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes dependent on his devotee. Wow, that's an important statement. The Lord is invincible. In other words, uh, he cannot be defeated. Yet he is conquered by his pure devotee. He enjoys being dependent on his devotees and in his devotees. He enjoys being dependent on his devotees, on his devotee, just as Krishna enjoyed being dependent on the mercy of Mother Yasoda. Thinking himself dependent on the devotee gives the Supreme Lord great enjoyment. Sometimes a king may engage a joker, and in the process of joking, the king is sometimes insulted. The king, however, enjoys these activities. Everyone worships the Supreme Lord with great reverence. Therefore, the Lord sometimes wants to enjoy the chastisement of his devotees. In this way, the relationship eternally existing between the Lord and his devotees is fixed, just like the sky overhead. Yeah, the devotee never forgets that he is the eternal servant of the Lord. But sometimes the Lord is pleased by the devotee taking a superior position and ostensibly uh, controlling the Lord. But it is not actually the fact. The Lord is always in control. But sometimes he likes to have the devotee dictate to him what to do. That is transcendental activities. It is not mundane activity. Text 21. The Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes very dear to those devotees who have no material possessions, but are fully happy in possessing the devotional service of the Lord. Indeed, the Lord relishes the devotional activities of such devotees. Those who are puffed up with material education, wealth, aristocracy, and fruitive activity are very proud of possessing these material things, and they often deride the devotees, meaning make fun of the devotees and criticize the devotees. Even if such people offer the Lord worship, the Lord never accepts them. Wow, what a terrible thing. Anyway, people have to be very, very careful. And it says, even if such people, it says, those who are puffed up with material education, wealth, aristocracy, and fruitive activity are very proud of possessing material things. And they often deride, in other words, criticize the devotees. Even if such people offer the Lord worship, the Lord never accepts them. Wow. That's a very, very powerful statement. Even if they uh, offer worship to the Lord never accepts them. Just imagine there are people offering all kinds of devotion to the Lord or all kinds of service, uh, but the Lord is not obliged to accept what they're offering. Why? Because of someone who becomes puffed up because of material education, wealth, aristocracy, and fruitive activity. Uh, they sometimes deride the devotees, in other words, make fun of the devotees, or uh, do not have respect for the devotees. Even if such people offer the Lord worship, the Lord never accepts them. That's an amazing point. Purport. The Supreme Personality Godhead is dependent on his pure devotees. He does not even accept the offerings of those who are not devotees. There it is. A pure devotee is one who feels he does not possess anything material. A devotee, in other words, that does not preclude the fact that a devotee may have some material, let's say, assets, but the devotee uses them only in the service of Krishna. He never thinks that I own this is mine. He always knows that everything belongs to Krishna. That's why it says the Supreme Personality of Godhead is dependent on his pure devotees. He does not even accept the offerings of those who are not devotees. A pure devotee is one who feels he does not possess anything material. That's the main statement. A devotee is always happy in possessing the devotional service of the Lord. Devotees may sometimes appear materially poor, but because they are spiritually advanced and enriched, they are most dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, there was a time where Prabhupada was beginning to preach Krishna consciousness. Some people might have thought that he's a very poor person, but they did not understand that he's actually very spiritually advanced and is capable of uh, teaching the entire universe or the entire population of the world the pure practices of Krishna consciousness. Such devotees are free from attachment to family, society, friendship, children, and devotee, and so on. They abandon affection for all these material possessions and are always happy in possessing the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Well, that's what happened to Prabhupada. He gave up his wife and children. They were already grown up, and he became, completely dedicated to serving Krishna. He gave up his material possessions and completely took shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. In fact, when he first was completely free from family, he got injured seriously by a cow that had horns. and injured him, and he was, you know, uh, he was bedridden for a little while, and he was thinking maybe he made a mistake in leaving his family, but then he understood that he was not going to go back to his family. He became determined. So that incident did not stop him from continuing to become a completely renounced sadhu and dedicated completely to preaching Krishna consciousness. Good thing for us that he didn't give up. The Supreme Personality of Godhead understands the position of his devotee. If a person derides a pure devotee, in other words, makes fun of the pure devotee, in other words, criticizes the pure devotee, he, the pure devotee, is never recognized. Oh no, he, the person who criticizes the pure devotee, is never recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, the Supreme Lord never excuses one who offends a pure devotee. We should never be in that position of offending a pure devotee. There are many examples of this in history. A great mystic yogi, Durvasa Muni, offended the great devotee Ambarish Maharaj. The great sage, Durvasa, was to be chastised by the Sudarshana chakra of the Lord. Even though the great mystic directly approached the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was never excused. Yes, so Durvasa Muni was able to go even to the spiritual world to see Krishna, but he was being chased by the uh, uh, weapon of Lord Krishna for his misbehavior of Ambarish Maharaj. And even though he's able to go to the spiritual world to see Krishna, he was still being pursued by the chakra of the Lord because of his terrible, uh, let's say, terrible treatment of Ambarish Maharaj. And ultimately, uh, he had to come back to Ambarish Maharaj, surrender unto him, and only then did the chakra of the Lord stop pursuing him, and he had to completely surrender to the person that he offended, meaning Ambarish Maharaj. Ambarish Maharaj did not try to protect himself, but he was protected by the mercy of Krishna. All this is very, very significant to understand. Those on the path of liberation should be very careful not to offend a pure devotee. That's a very important statement. Text 22. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is self-sufficient, he becomes dependent on his devotees. He does not care for the goddess of fortune, nor for the kings and demigods who are after the favors of the goddess of fortune. Where is that person who is actually grateful and will not worship the personality of Godhead? Yeah, where is that person who is actually grateful and will not worship the personality of Godhead? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is worshipped by all materialistic men. including big kings and demigods in heaven. Lakshmi, however, is always after the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though he does not require her service. Brahmasamhita says that the Lord is worshipped by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune, but the Supreme Lord does not require service from any of them, because if he so desires, he can produce millions of goddesses of fortune through his spiritual energy. The pleasure potency, this very personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy, becomes dependent on the devotees. Not really, but he wants to be dependent and enjoy uh, the association with pure devotees. How fortunate, then, is a devotee who is thus favored by the personality of Godhead? What ungrateful devotee will not worship the Lord and enter into his devotional service? Well, when it says, what ungrateful devotee will not worship the Lord, that means that we are all originally devotees of Krishna. But sometimes we become puffed up and think that we're independent of the Lord. Actually, a devotee cannot forget his obligation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even for a single moment. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura says that both the Supreme Lord and his devotee are rasa gya, full of transcendental humor. The mutual attachment between the Supreme Lord and his devotee is never to be considered material. It always exists as a transcendental fact. There are 8 types of transcendental ecstasy, known as bhava, anubhava, sthayi bhava, and so on. And these are discussed in the Nectar of Devotion. Those who are unaware of the position of the living entity and the Supreme Person Krishna think that the mutual attachment between the Lord and his devotees is a creation of the material energy. Factually, such attachment is natural, both for the Supreme Lord and for the devotee, and it cannot be accepted as material. That is a very significant statement. A uneducated person will think that the Lord's complete surrender to, the devotee's complete surrender to the Lord is sentimental and a type of weakness of the mind. Okay? But actually, factually, such attachment is natural both for the Supreme Lord and for the devotee, and it cannot be accepted as material. So the transcendental ecstasy that is experienced by the devotee in the association of Krishna is what you would call the attachment between the Lord and his devotees. And it is not mundane attachment. It is spiritual attachment. This is what's not understood by the Mayavadis and non-devotees. Factually, such attachment is natural both for the Supreme Lord and for the devotee, and it cannot be accepted as material. Yeah, there are things that there are situations, there are people that have mundane attachments, but the attachment that a devotee has for Krishna is never mundane. It's always transcendental, and it's full of love and devotion for the Lord. Text 23. The great sage Maitreya continued, my dear King Vidura, Sri Narada Muni, the son of Lord Brahma, thus described all these relationships with the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the Prachetas. Afterward, he returned to Brahmaloka. Now, just see how uh, merciful Narada Muni is. Purport: one has to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead from a pure devotee. The Prachetas got this opportunity from the great sage Narada, who told them of the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. Yeah, we we have to have the association of a pure devotee and hear the explanation of the truth of Krishna consciousness so that we can become liberated from the cycle of birth and death. Without the association of a pure devotee, it is impossible to make any spiritual advancement. So the Prachetas got this opportunity to associate with a great sage named Narada Muni, who told them of the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. Okay, so we'll do one more verse and we'll stop. Tepitan mukta niryatam yaso loka malapaham harer nishamya tat padam dhyayantas tad gatim yayu. Hearing from Narada's mouth the glories of the Lord, which vanquish all the ill fortune of the world, the Prachetas also became attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Meditating on his lotus feet, they advance to the ultimate destination. That's what happens when you hear the glories of the Lord from the mouth of a genuine devotee. Purport: here it is seen that by hearing the glories of the Lord from a realized devotee, the Prachetas easily attain strong attachment for the Supreme Personality of God. Then, meditating on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, at the end of their lives, they advance to the ultimate goal, Vishnu Loka. It is sure and certain that anyone who always hears the glories of the Lord and thinks of his lotus feet will reach that supreme destination. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyajimam namaskuru mam ivaishasi satyam te pratijane priyosime. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Haripol. So this verse from Bhagavad Gita 1865 explains the intimacy of the devotee and Krishna. And Krishna is very, very eager to have such relationship with a devotee. And he says, Krishna says, always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. So, my dear devotees, that is our takeaway from today. Always think of Krishna, become the devotee of Krishna, worship Krishna, offer our respect to Krishna. And if you do this, you will come to Krishna without fail. I promise, and Krishna says, I promise you this because you are my very dear devotee. So there is a gold standard promise from Krishna. If we think of Krishna, if we become a devotee of Krishna, if we worship Krishna and offer homage, respect to Krishna, then we will come to Krishna without fail. And Krishna promises that if we do this, you become Krishna's very dear friend. That is our takeaway for today and for eternity. It's such a major statement. Manmadabhava Bhakto Madhyajimam Namaskuru Mam Ivashasi Satyam Te Pratijane Priyosime. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage, in other words, your respect to me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. So there is a gold standard promise of Krishna. We should take it very seriously and we should strive to become to always think of Krishna and become the devotee of Krishna and worship him and offer our respect always to him. Then Krishna promises that he will take care of the devotee without fail. He promises this because the devotee has become the very dear friend of the Lord. Haribol. All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions anyone would like to ask or comments? All right, our takeaway today is the purport of text 24, which says, here it is seen that by hearing the glories of the Lord from a realized devotee, the prachetas easily attain strong attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why we're trying to hear about Krishna and his devotees every day in morning class and evening class. Then, meditating on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, at the end of their lives, they advance to the ultimate goal, Vishnu Loka. It is sure and certain, wow, that's a very powerful statement. It is sure and certain that anyone who always hears the glories of the Lord and thinks of his lotus feet will reach that supreme destination. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do every day by coming to class and discussing all the verses and purports in the Srimad Bhagavatam, uh, and especially paying attention to Prabhupada's purports. Therefore, Krishna says, Man manabhava mat bhakto mat yajimam namaskuru mam vaishasi satyam te pratijali priyosime. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Homage meaning your respect. Thus you will come to me without fail. Okay, so this is a absolute statement. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you. Okay, now Krishna is promising us because you are my very dear devotee. So if we become a very dear devotee of Krishna, he promises to liberate us from the cycle of birth and death. That is the gold standard for the behavior of a devotee. To always think of Krishna, become Krishna's devotee, worship Krishna, and offer our homage or respect always to Krishna. Thus you will come to Krishna without fail, and Krishna promises this because one has become a very dear friend of the Lord. Haribol. Okay, I think we'll stop right there today. The takeaway today is the verse 1865 that's quoted. Man manabhava mat bhakto mat yachiya mam namaskuru mam evaishasi satyam te pratijani priyosime. That's Bhagavad Gita 1865. It's one of the near to this verse. It's near to the end of the Bhagavad Gita, and it's very profound. Always think of Krishna, always become the devotee of Krishna, worship Krishna, offer our homage or respect to Krishna. If we do this, we will come to Krishna without fail. And then Krishna says, I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. So here we have an absolute promise of Krishna that if we always think of him, become his devotee, worship him, and offer homage unto him, we will be able to come close to him without fail. And he says, I promise you this because you're my very dear devotee. So that should be our purpose, to become a very dear devotee of Krishna. All our problems will be solved and we'll be able to easily go back to Godhead. We will stop right there, and that's enough information to understand how to be liberated in this lifetime and go back to Godhead. Haribol. Any questions or comments? Any questions or comments? So now you have Krishna's promise. Now Krishna is promising that his devotee will come to him without fail. Why? Because the devotee has become a very dear friend of the Lord by always thinking of the Lord, by engaging in devotional service for the Lord, by worshiping the Lord and offering one's respects to the Lord. Then without fail, one will come to Krishna. And Krishna promises this, that he will liberate his devotee. Why? Because the devotee has now become very dear to the Lord. He's like a dear friend to the Lord. Just see how wonderful that verse is. And Srila Prabhupada became a very dear friend of the Lord. And look what happened. He was able to help hundreds and thousands, actually millions of people to be Krishna conscious. That should be our real goal in life. Okay, I think we'll stop right there. Any questions, comments? And our takeaway today is this verse. We should memorize it. Man mana bhava mad bhakto mad yachimam namaskuru mam ivaishasi satyam te pratyajani priyosi me. Always think of me. Become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage, meaning your respect to me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. So you have a gold standard promise from Krishna. Always think of Krishna, become devotee of Krishna, worship Krishna, offer respect to Krishna. Thus, we can come to Krishna without fail. And Krishna promises that you will become his very dear friend. Okay, now we have a formula for becoming a very dear friend of Krishna and going back to Godhead very easily by surrendering completely to the Lord and always worshiping or Krishna and giving homage or respect to his devotees.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, due to Srila Prabhupada's mercy and your guidance and vision, and patiently guiding all of us in Seattle, yesterday program was such a wonderful. There were people who were so mesmerized. Everything was so wonderful. You were continuously talking name of Krishna and Jagannath Rath Yatra, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani lordships were so merciful. They were on the street. It was really ecstasy. I was reading Pratna book by Srila Vinod Saraswati Thakur, and he was saying when that day will be, when I can be in Vrindavan, when I can be free of all responsibilities and go to Vrindavan. And I realized yesterday night that we are living in Vrindavan. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you for that statement. That is a fact. We are all living in Vrindavan by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, who's taught us how to please Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna and hearing about the glories of Krishna and spreading that knowledge to other people by having these festivals and making people happy. Thank you very much. That is a very nice statement. Mataji, thank you very, very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please chant Hare Krishna today, at least 16 good rounds, and be happy. Haribol. If you don't chant Hare Krishna 16 rounds, you don't feel good at all. If you do, you always feel invigorated, very positive, and very, let's say, sure that you'll have a chance to go back to Godhead. Haribol. Thank you very much, my dear devotees. And our takeaway, of course, is this verse: Manmanavava Madbhakto Madhajimam Namaskuru Mam Evasisi Satyam Te Pratijani Priyosive. Always think of Krishna, always become the devotee of Krishna, always worship Krishna, and offer our respect or homage to Krishna. Thus, we can come to Krishna without fail. And then Krishna says, I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. There it is. We should meditate on that statement. Krishna is promising us. So, promising the devotee that we will become his very dear friend if we always think of him, become his devotee, worship him, and offer our homage or respect to him. Then we come to Krishna without fail. And Krishna says, I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Wow. So we have the example of Arjuna. That's why if we hear about Arjuna and his transcendental relationship with Krishna, then we become purified and we have the possibility of achieving the same type of relationship with Krishna. That should be our real goal in life, to follow the example of Arjuna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you very much. Please have a good day today. It's a sunny day and a good day to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama